welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, where we're back in studio at Tin Mirror Studio in Kings Park, New York, on a Saturday afternoon where we are Pharaoh-less, but we are not Jimmy-less, as we have Hall of Famer, the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant.
Wait. Hey, brother, man, look out, my brother. Look at that big cat here. You know, I want to tell you something, brother. Hey, before I leave, man, I need you an autograph, man. I'm going to give you some sugar. Hey, you know, I listen to you every chance I get, brother. Every time I'm in the area, everywhere I go, brother. Hey, I listen to you, man. You got the greatest show, the greatest station in the nation, brother. You got it right there, man. And I will be your partner, Jimmy, tonight.
That's it. We are Pharaoh-less, but not Jimmy-less, and I'm sure Jimmy will be happy to hand over his chair for one afternoon to a legend like yourself.
Oh, brother, man. You know, he's a great cat. I met him in Charlotte at the gathering, you know. And
tell me about that a little bit.
Oh, man. Yeah, brother, man, it was great, you know. And, of course, you know, I know his lovely bride, man, you know, for many, many years. And God bless her and him. And congratulations, Jimmy. Hey, man, you got a good one there. Good girl, man. And you know, of course, she was married to the toughest man I ever met in my life. You know, Chief Wahoo McDaniel, brother. He could chop you, man, and he can pop you. And what an athlete! What an athlete the Chief was. He would, in high school, man, he would kick that football and off, you know. And he went to Midland, Texas. That's where the Bushes came from.
Right.
And you know where the when two presidents, father and son, both of them, and it's all oil fields. And his father, they came in from Oklahoma, you know, and from in there, they're the real deal, Chackahaw, the Indians, man, and so anyway, what an athlete, the best athlete, and the whole town would turn out. For high school football, and Wahoo was their you know the best ever, you know, of course, and he went on and you know played great college and went to pro football, and there's only two guys, Mike, that I can remember. A lot of wrestlers, you know, became wrestlers that you know that were. Football player, but the only two that I know, you gotta play football for 7 years to get their you know, when you retirement, and he's one. Chief was one, Wahoo McDaniel, and also was Ernie the Cat Ladd, big cat. Yeah, went to Grambling, man. You know, first big black guy, man. That they signed, man. And I just love him. They were both my partners, buddies. But anyway, Wahoo used to in high school. He kicked off and he played defense, offense. He was the star, and he kicked off like the pros. He'd kick all in the end zone, brother, in high school. You know. And you know, for the start of the game, and that was like a kid in high school dunking. Then you know, now they dunk now, but years back in that time, that was it was almost unheard of. You know.
So Jimmy, let me ask you this: you brought up Ernie the Cat Ladd last night. Jimmy and I, Pharaoh and I, had Tony Atlas, the great Tony Atlas, on the show. But one thing about pro wrestling, and correct me if I'm wrong, back in the day when you first started. Black athletes weren't treated the best in any sport, and it seemed even worse in wrestling. How were you able to deal with that as being a white athlete, watching your teammates, in fact, be treated in a improper way?
Yeah, you know, I tell you, Mike, it just broke my heart, man. You know, I mean, these are tough cats, man. They're doing what we're doing, man. I mean, I respect anybody. You pick up a guy and slam him down, brother, and he takes that bump, you know, and we do it night after night, 7 days a week, and you know, when we was on the circuit, and you know, if you took someone off the street and picked them up and slammed them, I don't care if you slam them on a powder puff, man. You know, hey, it's gonna bust everything, and his whole insides will bust. You know, because but we conditioners just like Wahoo. He chopped so hard, him and Flair, Valentine,
Yeah.
and the original starters was not Greg Valentine, but his father Johnny, and then of course Greg came, and then the Hammer he started chopping too, boy, and him and Flair back and forth, and it was unreal. But their skin. Man, was like leather, brother. Yeah. Oh man, they'd pop, and man, their handprint would be there, and all of a sudden, blood would form in that hand, in there. But night after night, it'd bust the skin, man. It'd bleed, but after a while, it's all calloused, brother. So you condition your body. If you take a carpenter and give him that hammer that first day, and boy, he's on that roof and he's building that house and he's going, man, brother, hey, he comes home and he's got calluses all in here. Well, hey, sooner or later, he's going to have calluses, and it's not blisters. He'd have blisters,
Right.
Start out with blisters. So you condition your body, man. And yeah, going back with they had a tough time, man. Of course, all sports, and of course, the one that broke the barrier in pro baseball and football and every. Hey, there was, Freight Train Jones, man. God bless him, man. I love him. He was my godfather for my baby boy. Jimmy, handsome Jimmy, and that he was born in 1980 in Memphis, and it was just a great. These guys, man, they were what we did, man. Hey, we were down that road, brother, and we depended on each other, and hey, every night it was way out of the tune. Now, of course, boy, you can't have nothing, open in your car and that. But every night, we don't have a 6-pack. In the quart, maybe a beer or something, down there, whatever you're doing, you're drinking, whatever. And and years ago, I started in 1964 wrestling, right. and I've been wrestling 61 years now, brother, and it's the only thing I've ever done in my life, man, and I was so fortunate to be on the big time, man. I worked at all of them, NWA, AWA, WWA, WWF. My goodness, I worked Florida Championship Wrestling, Georgia Championship Wrestling. I'd go out to San Francisco, to California, and it was just something that just part of my life that I just. It was so exciting, and they were doing the same thing we were,
Right.
And it just broke my heart, but because you're right. There wasn't that many. Now, man, there's, there are quite a few, which is fine. That's all right with me, man.
Which black wrestler do you think actually broke the barrier? So when we talk about baseball, football, we know those major characters who have broken the barrier. Which wrestler in your mind, black wrestler, broke the barrier?
I tell you exactly, brother. The first superstar in. Which was a black pro wrestler was Bobo Brazil.
Oh,
Bobo, and at around the same time-ish, but Bobo was the first, and he was brother. Oh, he was the most impressive looking thing, brother. And just like also Sailor Art Thomas. Wow. Oh, brother, man, he had that bicep, brother, and you work out, and these guys. This was before the steroids, and he would, man, make that bicep here, and like Papa Pump, man, and boy, he's got 2 or 3 different. Looks like I call it Alamo. That big bicep is the piece of apple pie, and that little extra bump up on top. That's the ice cream on top of the pie. That's the Alamo. But they're freaks now. But Sailor Art Thomas did that. Naturally, and in fact, he had a very tragic thing that happened working out. But years ago, they had them springs. You remember them springs?
Yep.
And they had maybe 5, 6. He had the big set, man. And boy, he would, I'd see him working out, and he put it on his foot, and he'd do curls, man. And one time he did it, and it slipped off his foot, and that the handle and they had 5, 6 big springs on a brother, and he was so strong, and it hit him in the eye, and it damaged his eye so bad, and his eye was not only he was blind, but it also discolored his skin, his eye. It was just a mess, but yeah, he did, and at the same time though, them two. But Bobo was it. Bobo was the king, man. He was the first, and he was the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life. And
well, you mentioned steroids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the wrestlers.
Oh, yes,
there became a time. Now you were you were a really big dude too. Did you ever juice up yourself
you
to
bet,
try?
brother. Oh man, yeah. Here when I started out, like right now, I'm real lean, man. I weigh what I did in high school, and because I'm not naturally a big bone guy. I'm just medium bone, man. Hey, my ankles bend; they come down like a racehorse. And I'm just not but I had the height. I was now I'm probably 6'1" or 6 foot. I don't know, but I was 6'3". At my height at my when I was in my prime. And Mike, my mentor was Dick the Bruiser, and all the men that schooled me, and there wasn't no wrestling school. I got a wrestling camp in Charlottesville, Virginia, and Hall of Fame Museum. Been there 34 years, man. And if you're ever in Virginia, y'all just look up. Hey, just Google JimmyValiant.weebly.com. That's my website, and there's 2 dots in there. Jimmy Valiant, one word. Weebly, WEEBLY.com, JimmyValiant.weebly.com. Check that out, or just put Jimmy Valiant at Outlook.com, and that goes right to me, and that's I'll write you back or whatever, or just Google Jimmy Valiant, man. My camp will come right up, boom. But what I'm saying is, for the people, come any Sunday. We're only open Sunday 4 hours a week. You can come any Sunday and be our guest, spend the day with us. There's no charge. We got Hall of Fame, got a museum. We got matches are free. We're training, watch them train. We have just spend the day with me. And I'm there every Sunday. Man, and no matter what. And very few Sundays I've missed in 34 years. And I started that because when I'm on the road and doing and all the questions, how do you get into this? How do you get in? Well, when I started in 1964, there was no school. There might have been one, I don't know, somewhere I heard in around Detroit, and there's one in Canada, I think, but there was no schools like it. It was before even Vern Gagne started his school, and a lot of people said, well, yeah, Vern Gagne trained you. And, well, he didn't, but he was one of my mentors. In fact, he and Dick the Bruiser was my mentor, and he was the hottest thing in the country, brother. As a heel, and brother, when he turned, crowd pleaser, he was like me, handsome Jimmy Valiant, man, strutting around with blonde hair, big muscles, brother, man. Then after a while, I look around, man, and man, there's blondes strutting around all over the place. I mean, Flair and Buddy Landell, man. I mean, they're everywhere, So I reinvented myself. I came out with the Boogie Woogie, man. I threw my razor away, grew the beard, man, and I became a crowd pleaser. And what got over so strong was I didn't change my style. I still pulled hair, hit them with chairs, and choked them, poked them in the eyes, man. The people.
So you're telling me, I don't mean to interrupt you. So you're telling me that was a change of the gimmick because you saw too many guys copying you. You're like, you know what, this isn't going to work anymore. I'm going this route.
Yeah, and how that happened was that Mike was. I was so hot in Memphis with Lawler and Dundee and Tommy Rich and Austin Idol and Tojo, and we had a good little crew in there. Of course, Jackie Fargo, man. First strutter, blonde hair, it was because it was just a thing that from Memphis, Tennessee, when you're somewhere so long, in and out, and the people start liking you, see, and so no matter what I did, they seen it. So hey, you might as well start working heels against me, man. And then boom, oh man, it took off like fire. And I didn't change my style because of Dick the Bruiser, because that's what he did. See, he was the first character to do that, and it got over like $1 million. The same with me. And so that's how that happened. And you got to think, you got to be different. Got to think of things, Like I said, okay, well, all right, what else can I do to be different? You got to be different. I said, okay, I'm gonna come out to music. And I told Ole Anderson, I told the office there, Jimmy Crockett, and I said, he said, what? And he says, yeah, I come out to music in Memphis, And he said, okay, and then I says, because how that happened, Jerry calls me and says, could we borrow Handsome Jimmy? And I was Handsome Jimmy then, and he says, because we got something ready for him, and it's gonna be a good shot. A couple guys jumped Lawler and a couple good heel team, and he needed a partner, and I sent an interview in, brother, and we went there, and so I went there that Monday. They flew me back to Charlotte, and as soon as I got there, they was waiting at the door. We did every Tuesday. This was Monday night. Memphis Coliseum ran every Monday night. So every Tuesday, they give us our payoff, but we did interviews all day from 9 o'clock till we got done. 2, 3, whatever it was, and they give you your check for the week, and then you got to work. You got to go either to Greenville, South Carolina, or we got to go to Raleigh, North Carolina. We wrestled, man. We wrestled in the '80s with Crockett 9 times a week. 7 days we'd work. 7 days. That's one time a day, but on Saturday twice and Sunday twice. We'd have afternoon and an evening. See. So we'd work 9 times, and they worked. There were 75 wrestlers lived in Charlotte, and brother, it was just unreal. We had 3 towns running at night.
So
3 towns.
Jimmy, you're in New York. You're huge in New York. Then you go down to the Mid-Atlantic, which was a pretty big territory at the time. What was the pay discrepancy between the 2 areas?
Oh man, New York was the man. Everybody wanted to go to New York. Everybody. I mean, and if you got the break, brother, you go and I'll tell you something. I was here 3 times in New York. It was WWF in the 70s, all in the 70s, and then I stayed over a year each time, and he invited me back. I went 70, 71, 73, 74 ish, and 78, 79, and then he passed, and then we called him Vince McMahon Jr., but you don't have to call him Junior no more.
No.
She's like Hank Williams Jr., and he sings a song about it, brother, because he did his own thing and made it, and he says, you don't have to call Hank Williams Jr. anymore. Well, you don't have to call Vince McMahon Jr. anymore either, But I want to go back, if you don't mind, about the steroids.
Yeah.
Man, we get going, man. We just have a good time, man. We get going, man. We just go one shot.
We're going all over the place,
yeah,
man.
baby.
So let's just do it.
We're doing it. These scrambled eggs, baby.
That's it, baby. Let's go.
Messy. And my mentor, I was just a young kid, man. I had a good body, man. I trained. I was working out hard, man, and they tell me, man, you got Jimmy, you're a good-looking guy. You got nice hair, nice body, but people wanted, and you got the height, and that was so important. Had the height, and I did. And he says, but people wanted to see big guys, big people up there. They don't, they don't want you, 200 pounds. Hey, there's 200 pounds buying tickets, brother. So I said, okay, and so around the gym, I know that hey, steroids are happening, even in the early '60s, but the only thing we had was a pill, and it was called Dianabol.
Yep.
Dianabol, and they had the yellow and red. I mean, yellow and blue, and blues were 10s, and brother, just like the Valiants, brother. And I took a couple 10s a day, and the government, the pharmaceutical, they invented this after the war to help heal your body, the steroids, the Dianabol, for the burnt soldiers, and just really shot up and because it really healed your body, and it wasn't meant for a young, healthy, bodybuilder or football player. But I hate football. Everything, they were all on it, brother. And all the other athletes, pro athletes, and so we were. Well, I got on that thing, and brother, and hey, I went up to. I was trying to. My goal was to hit 300 pounds, and I went all the way maybe to 280, and I got hurt in St. Louis at the Kill Auditorium with Moose Cholak, and he came down and he gave me the big moose thing and slammed me, and he came down with the big El Splasho, he called it, and his knee hit my head. Boom! I had a concussion, brother, man, and it was so I couldn't eat nothing. I had to eat baby food and all that for weeks. And he says, and I was diagnosed with water on the brain wall, and it's just got to dissolve. See, so of course I couldn't work out. I canceled all my. I was wrestling at that time, for maybe 4 or 5 different promoters. I was wrestling for Goulas in Tennessee, Nashville, and this is another story. With all different names. He'd call me there at that territory because there was no crossover. It was before the internet. It was before cable TV. So it was just local TVs that would go in certain 2 or 3 states or whatever, or their territory. And so I was Jim McDonald there. I was part of the McDonald hamburger chain here. I was in that rich family, and because I had a lot of money and all that, and so anyway, then I went to St. Louis, and Sam Mushnick, they called me Jimmy the Body Valiant, and Dick the Bruiser. When I started, called me Jimmy Valentine. And real close to Johnny Valentine. And then I go to Detroit, and this is all around where I was at, Hammond, Indiana, and where I was raised in, because Detroit was 300 miles, St. Louis was 300, I could go to Gagne in Minnesota, 400 miles, and he called me Jimmy the Body Valiant. But when I went to the original Sheik, not the Iron Sheik, the original Sheik, he would call me their promotion would call me Big John Vallon. So I had all these names, and finally when I went to Fritz von Erich and Johnny Valentine was there, and how I got my name was he called me in the first day. I was there, and before we did the first thing and. First show, and he, that night there in Dallas, and so the old auditorium, and he says, we got to change your name because our big star is Johnny Valentine. I was just getting going, and he says, and I went in as Jimmy the Body Vallon, and he says, Jimmy Vallon is so close to Johnny Valentine, and he said, I'm going to change it. And I said, okay, boss. You're my boss, baby. And he says, just in 1 minute, Mike. He says, your name is Handsome Jimmy Valiant. And he says, and I'm gonna work as a heel. Well, I was trying to be a heel all this time, and all these names everywhere I went, because I was so young, and they all said, no, you're too young, you're too good looking, you're too this, you're too that. He says there's plenty of time to be a heel, when you get older and because look at all these old mean rascals we got here, man. We want you to be the good guy, and all that, and I wanted to heal so bad, brother. But when he said that, I didn't even hear what he was going to call me. Man, I was so excited, and then I hit it. Handsome Jimmy Valiant. Well, Jimmy Valiant and Johnny Valentine, that's still not, it's real close, than Jimmy Valiant, Jimmy Valiant. But all I heard was he was going to make me, oh, man, I was crazy, man. I just went nuts, and I did, and I stayed there just 2 months, brother, and right place, right time. Here's the call comes in from Vince McMahon, and all he says was, he called me in for another meeting. He says, Jimmy, he says, well, I'll tell you exactly. I went first. I went to Ganya after I got my when I got the concussion, Mike. I went to Vernganya and started working again. And I'd go up there and 400 miles and on a Saturday, and then he would pay me for TV, doing TV, and then I'd work the house show that night and then come back home, and while I was started working out again, I trimmed down, boy, from that 280 I was like, man, maybe 220, and I was ripped, boy. And he says, hey, we're just opening up Tulsa. He says, Fritz von Erich, myself, which was, this was Cowboy Bill Watts, and they bought into Leroy McGurk's territory. And he says, we'd like to get you there. And he says, if you go, he says, because I haven't got my break yet. He says, they pay $300 a week. And at that time, a regular job, brother, they were just making $3.08 an hour. You know,
right.
I mean, so you're bringing home $100 a week. So $300. So I said, oh man, I said, come on, baby, let's go. My family, and I says, if it's now or never. And so we went and picked that up. I stayed there 3 months, and then Fritz called me, and how he got me, he says, well. He says, Jimmy, he says, you come, we're going to make you $400 a week.
Wow. You're gone.
So I'm in Dallas now, get the kids back in school after 3 months and rent another place, for a year. And then you got to go, man, because, when it's time to go, you just got to get it and go to the next territory. The promoters will say, hey, Mike, he said, hey, you can buy a house in here, this territory, but make sure it's got wheels on it.
Yeah.
Because man, there's no homesteading. People want to see new faces, every often. Now they have some mainstays, but they're the big stars. But the underneath guys, until you get your break in that, man, they want to switch them up. So anyway, here Vince calls and says and here's the exact words. He says, a good friend of mine, Vince McMahon, in New York called, and he says he's looking for a real good-looking young kid. And he says, and Fritz says, man, I thought of you, Jimmy, and he said, be good for you. I said, but Fritz, I just got here, man. I don't know what I'm turning down, man. I honestly don't, man. Going to New York, because I'm still greenish. And he says, he says, you're making $400 here. They're going to give you $500. You're going to make $500 a week there. And he says, go. And I still didn't. I said, man, I just got here, got the kids in school, because we just got done that in Tulsa for 3 months. And I said, man, he said, keep your kids here. You go. And he says, and try it, he says, for a month. And he says, if you don't like it in 1 month, you pick up the phone, leave your family here, let them go to school, finish school, and then in the summer, then they'll come to you and you get set up and you'll be in the territory. And he says, and if he says, believe me, Jimmy, he said, it's going to be good for you. So I said, okay. So they flew me up, and I went in. And the funny part about it was, I thought I was going to go in as a heel because I was a heel there, Oh, and I'm really excited. So I go in the office in Washington D.C. They had an office, and one in New York, and this was Capitol Wrestling then, just WWF, but they just bought Capitol Wrestling out, and they call it WWF. And so I says, Vince says, come in, Jimmy. In the main office, the first day I got there, I put my 2 bags down, and I walked in, and he says, you come from a man I admire. He says, and he really, says it's going to be good. And he says, you look good. You remind me of someone who made me a lot of money. Vince is telling me that. And that was Mr. America Stanley, and another blonde, big kid. And he says, here, let me show you where you're going to, who you're going to be working for the next 3 weeks. And he showed me the whole schedule. And I looked down, and every town, because we work in a different town every night, different state, different, the big time, man. And I looked, and it said Black Demon. I says, Vince, I'm talking to this guy. I just met him, brother, and he's a millionaire and the biggest promoter. Oh, and I knew something was, because when I left, everybody congratulating Dusty Rhodes, man, Killer Kowalski, even Johnny Valentine, man, shook my hand. He says, man, you're going to make some money. Oh, man, they're going, boy, you're in the right place, right time. And I said, man, it must be something going on here, brother. And so, when I went, but I am telling this best promoter, best territory, best everything in our whole country, and the number 1 territory and best money, everything in here. I'm wanting to be a heel. Because is this the guy a heel? I mean, he's got to be Black Demon, And he said, yeah. And it was Tony. Oh man, Reno. No, I'll have to think. Anyway, Tony.
We'll just call him the Black Demon.
Yeah, the Black Demon, big guy, boy, man. He was a monster. And he says, yeah. He says, there's something wrong with that? And I said, well, geez, I feel more comfortable. I only healed for 2 months, brother. But I'm telling the boss, I feel more comfortable as a heel, man. And I've been baby facing my whole life, until that point. And he looks at me and he says, Jimmy, he says, Tony Marino, Nero, Tony Nero. Check it out. Look it up. The old school. Yeah, the old wrestling fan, and that's who it was, and who I was wrestling all that 3 weeks. And he says, if you get over, and he says, I'm going to help you get over, and he says, in 6 months, son, he says, I will switch you. I'll tell you how this works, Jack. Switch you and make you big money.
Wow.
He's telling me this, and. Man, what are you going to say? Yes, sir. Okay. All right. So I went and did that, and here's how they got me hot. Right off the bat, I mean, within the first month, they gave me win after win on TV, and then all of a sudden they put me and the number 2 guy, the best babyface in New York in 1970, 71 was Chief Jay Strongbow. Mm-hmm. Right next to Bruno. Bruno was the world champion. Brother, he was he was right there. He was the top man. So when you do that, you take me, a young kid, just getting going, and I'm with the chief, and we come out as a team, a tag team. And, hey, I'm getting all his heat. I'm over like $1 million just because of him. And I haven't done nothing. And I'm just trying to get over. So he really tried to help me. And we did. I got over. And he must have written that down in that book that day, because he had this whole book there. Because exactly 6 months to the day, he switched me heel. And I made for 6 months, y'all, 6 months, I made 500 a week like clockwork. Not a dime off, man. $500 a week.
So let me ask you this. When we've had so many famous wrestlers in like yourself, Vince McMahon, at least was represented, was a man of honor. He always stuck to his word. Is that true?
Oh, brother, hey, anything he tell you, Mike, you take it to the bank. Anything. He said, in 6 months, if you get over it, I'm going to help you. And he did, and I got over. Okay. He says, I'm going to switch you. He switched me on the day, brother. And I went from making $500 that week before. My first check, I went after he switched, and I switched. When he switched me, it was on Strongbow. You know, he learned me the Indian sleeper hole, and I put it on him, and you know, and got on him, and oh man, it was instant heat, because he's still the biggest baby face, you know, next to Bruno, and I went from making $500 a week. My next week's check, just because I did that, and we're working shots right away, you know, me and him against each other, $1,500.
Wow,
$1,500, and brother, and this is like 1970, 71. Man, this was like doctors and lawyers. I didn't even get out of high school, brother. You know me. I didn't take a book home in high school in my life. I played football. I was a jock, man, but I never studied, and they just passed me through it, and I got it through. But that's how it works anyway. And I was going to tell you real fast. I'm going to go way back one more time, if you don't mind. Here's how hard that I wanted it, or I'm trying to do what my boss says, or I'm trying to do what my mentor says. He says, Vern Gagne and Dick the Bruiser, both of them. Dick, I'm listening to, you know, because I work for him the most. He says, son, you got to gain weight. So, well, I'm a bodybuilder. Now it's the science. Oh man, now they don't eat. Oh man, they got it down, brother. To, you know, it's just unreal. You know how they look and how it's all diet.
But I was going to ask you about that, right? So you're an old school wrestler, right? You even said it.
Right.
You have to be like, you know, a guy buying a ticket could be 200 pounds, right? You need to be big, and that's a wrestler. When you look at him, when you watched, and you have a wrestling school, right? And
yes,
you know,
sir.
like just like this, anyone could be a radio star, anyone could be a podcaster, anyone could be a wrestler. I understand you have your own school, but how do you feel that you have 120 and 130 pound wrestlers now? Does that bother you, or?
Well, it's a complete different thing now, brother. You know, we took care of this business. We would protect it like we would our family. You know, it was serious, brother. I never had a car when I was a heel as Handsome Jimmy that wasn't keyed or broken windows or flattened tires, or they would put sand or dirt in my gas tank. I mean, brother, I'd had to hide my car. I couldn't go with my family. I had 3 little girls. I couldn't go to church with them. I couldn't go to any school functions with them because I didn't want to associate me being, you know, on TV there and who their father is. And I told them, I says, if they ask you what's your dad do, and then just tell them, and you know, he's out of town salesman or whatever, you know, which I was. I was selling out of town,
something.
baby. Yeah, man, I was out of town, man, and like Charlie Brown, and but yeah, and you know, it was serious, man. I got cut, brother, man. I got brother, you know, hey, they would throw hot coffee on you. At that time, everybody was smoking still in the small arenas, you know, and walking down the aisle. They'd burn you with cigarettes, man. They'd be swinging stuff, throwing at you, man. It was dangerous, brother. You had to protect yourself. And oh man, you had to fight, brother. You know, and hey, and all this was just getting to the ring.
Right.
Now you got to get the heat and match, and you got to get out of there, brother. Yeah, but yeah.
And you wanted to work heel.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah, you did. I
makes sense.
I did. But it was, and you know what? It's really not me, because I'm a people's person. I love to hug and kiss, and oh, that's another thing. When I was the Boogie Woogie man, then I was going to say I started dancing. Come out to music, boom, 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 and I'd go up in the stage, I'd go up in the balcony, I'd be kissing and hugging. Hey, I don't care if mother, father, sister, little babies, girls, women, grandpa, grandma, blue, black, pink, white, it didn't matter. I kissed everybody, brother. I was, well, first of all, who wants to kiss it? Nobody. Well, it's something different, see? Mm-hmm. So I did that, man, and I started goosing them, man. I started riding them. I do the Humpty Dumpty. Oh, I do all kinds of stuff. Bite them on the butt, man. Yeah, I do all kinds of wild stuff. And then, boy, and I'd hit him with cheers, and I'd pull hair, and that heel would jump up. Hey, hey, you pulled my hair. Hey, it's the people, and the people, they delightful. He did not. You know what I mean? So I was just a fan favorite, man. They love me, and this old nasty heel, brother, and I'm still just healing, but I've been there so long that they accepted me, and they just love me. Just like you stay so many places, they got to switch you that way. See?
But let me ask you this question, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up a WWE guy. My partner did too. So in fact, I could tell you the first time I ever saw wrestling was the Valiant brothers, and man. I had never seen any wrestling before. But the point is, you were a serious, really big guy. When you go to the Mid-Atlantic, you became a fan favorite. You kind of playing around with the fans. Do you feel in some way that kind of hurt you because, you were more, fair to say, and respectfully, you were too gimmicky, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. It got over because it was so different. And you got to be different to stand out.
Right.
And I wasn't the first blonde. I wasn't the first to come out to music. Gorgeous George came out to music just once or twice. Ernie Roth, I'm sorry, the Grand Wizard told me. And he's the one that suggested it, and
So Ernie Roth said, "Hey, change your gimmick."
No, yeah. Once I did, once I turned heel and all that, they put him with me.
Okay.
And brought in Beautiful Bobby, not Beautiful Bobby Eaton, the original Beautiful Bobby Harmon, and so that was his mate. That was Ernie. They brought him in, and so it was Beautiful Bobby, Handsome Jimmy, and we were a tag team. And he suggested for us to use it. See, and it was different. We were the first to come out in the Garden with it, doing it, and and I noticed that. I said, man, Ernie, yeah, man, music gets you rocking, man. Get the people, man, and do we really want that and all that? He says, yeah, because you're handsome and he's luscious, and I mean not luscious, John. He's a pretty boy, so I says, Bobby Harmon, yeah, and beautiful. He was beautiful, and I was handsome, and so then. When Johnny came along, then we had to find a name for him, and we said Luscious. And Bobby Heenan had to replace himself. He wanted to go with Gagne. We was working WWA and for Bruiser in Indianapolis. And so Indianapolis with the WWA and AWA would both run, Gagne and Bruiser would run together Chicago, the amphitheater, one big show a month, and they send all their tapes in, and we'd send our tapes in, and man, we'd sell that thing out every, just like Madison Square Garden, and so that was Chicago big, and so Bobby wanted to go there, and Bruiser says you got to replace yourself, so he came up with the idea to bring. He said, hey, he said, Jimmy, remember that guy? We'd go in the summertime. me, Baron von Roski, and Bobby, and Ernie Ladd a few times went with us after we worked Detroit. We worked Detroit, and we used to go to Cobo Hall for the Sheik, but Bruiser ran Detroit against the Sheik and at the Olympic Auditorium, and so in Chicago, in Detroit. Well, we'd stay over Saturday night, and then go to London, Ontario, Canada, for the Bearman. And every summer, he would bring a crew in, 4 or 5 of the good boys and from the States and the rest from Canada. And then he'd bring girls in, and it was the Bearman, Dave Carnegie. I can't think of his last name now. But Dave, Bearman, he had his own bear, and so he'd have the bear, and he'd bring the midgets in, and just for the summer, and we would do all the hockey arenas because it was off season, see, and summertime, and so we'd do all the hockey arenas, and so we remember Johnny. He remembered Johnny. He said, "Let's make him a Valiant brother." Big, good look at his name was John L. Sullivan. And his real name is Thomas Sullivan, but he's going as John L. Sullivan, and so that was his replacement. So here's a perfect example. So we're gonna get him over. So me and Bobby started talking about him. Nobody's ever seen him. Not a picture. He didn't come in for TV early. He didn't do nothing. Didn't know what he looked like. Nothing. All we did for a solid month, because we first shot was in the Expo in Indianapolis, and that was our big show once a month. And so for 4 weeks we started talking, and that, hey, wait till you see the Valiant brothers, Handsome Jimmy and my brother Luscious Johnny. And I said, hey, there's no difference between Handsome Jimmy and Luscious Johnny. Hey, Luscious Johnny's not handsome. He's just luscious. Hey, I'm not luscious. I'm just handsome. That's the only difference. There ain't nothing other. I said, he's mean. He's green. He's a fighting machine. I don't know what I said, man. And Bobby Heenan's putting him over and over. Brother, when we walked down and we were going against the tag champions, the WWA tag champion, which was Wilbur Snyder and Pepper Gomez, and when they walked down the aisle, we walked down the aisle. He had so much heat, Bobby. Johnny did, right, because he had my heat and Bobby's heat, just like I had Strongbow's heat. Yeah. See, without being seen, he did it, but I was being seen with him. See, and I'm gonna tell you a true story. I love Johnny. God bless him. And he was just struggling, trying to get that break, never got that break yet. This was his big break, and he's ready. Oh, what a good talker, man. He could, and he could go, he could work, man. And so they put us together, and we beat him. We won the belts that night. And he came in, and years ago, they'd pay you every night cash. Every night. And brother, the very first night, man, Bruiser handed him $1,000. $1,000. He cried like a baby. This is. I would
cry like a baby. You kidding me?
Man, yeah. You bet, brother, man. And it just warmed my heart. But that's just how our business is. And because, hey, brother, I'm telling you something. He had so many, and so did I, brother. I had $6 pay. My first payoff was $6, brother. And I had $15, $12 payoffs, and going, all the way to Kankakee, going, all over Indiana, man. Everywhere, Illinois, and man, $10, hey, $25, But Bruiser told me right off the bat. He says, "Don't worry what you make tonight." He says in his territory. He says, what you want to worry about is what you make at the end of the week. And here's how they got you. Because you may work all them shows all week for 35, 45, maybe 50, maybe 25, 20, and then every Saturday they had a big show. Either Hammond, Chicago, it'd be Fort Wayne, or it'd be Indianapolis. See, so that big show, you can make $100 bill underneath, so you can make $100 bill. Well, you add up that 100 with all them other little things going on, and you're hey, you're up almost around 200. See? Yeah. So hey, brother, you go work in the mill, go work in a factory, you're gonna make 100. Mm-hmm. So he says, don't worry about what you're getting tonight, and they'd always bring a case of beer in, for us after the match and years ago, and then you wait for your payoff and go in and they cutting that pie, man, but that's how our business was. But real fast, and then we'll get on anything else you want. Mike, again, going back in our story, because we get going, man.
I mean, we could do this all day.
Oh,
man,
we
right?
can. I know it. I love it. But I'm trying to get this one point out, and then we'll stop there and about this. But they said they want to see big guys, Jimmy, big guys. So I says, I didn't know how to do this exactly, but common sense. And I was a bodybuilder. But the diet wasn't that so important, because bodybuilders back in the early 60s bulked up all winter. They don't do it no more. They stay in shape all year round. Right. Now, just 10 pounds off, man, from doing their contest. But then we bulked up 40, 50 pounds all winter, and then towards the spring for summertime for the beach, if you're not even competing. Then you would trim down every year. So you do that year after year. Well. So I said, well, hey, common sense. How do you gain weight? You eat. How do you not gain weight? You don't eat.
Right, exactly.
See? I mean, it's common sense. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, I got to eat. They want to see big, I got to eat. First, I got them steroids, and that'll help you, brother. That put the and my other goal was because I was doing that, I wanted to bench press 400 pounds, and I did it at that period. And I wanted to squat 700. I did that. That's the only two things I ever done. And I got real long arms, and I took a wide grip. Bruiser had that big barrel chest, him and Crusher, and they took that wide grip. And boy, they go boom! They moved that bar that much, that chest hit that chest. But Schwarzenegger and some of the other taller 6-footers, 6'3", 6'4", man, they got to go up and down. I mean, even with the wide grip.
Sure.
So, but I did it. I made the 400. I did my goal there, but I didn't make the 300. I got around 280, and I got hurt with Moose. But the thing was that I had to come back along, and I trimmed down and never did it again. But here's the kicker, and then we're getting off of this thing, is, all right, I said, now here's how bad I want it, or how bad I will go to the limit. And I know I hurt my body, because now I have digestion problems, and God bless, and my whole life. But I started, I said, okay, you got to eat. So I started eating 6 sandwiches for lunch.
Wow.
I would make sure, Mike, I would get a gallon of milk in my body every single day, and a dozen eggs. I'd put 6 raw eggs. You seen the Rocky thing. Man, I'd put them in a blender and put protein powder and everything else, nuts in there and everything, grind it up, drink that, and then I would scramble 6, So I'd eat a dozen eggs, and so I force fed, and I got big. I got big everywhere. I had a 46-inch waist. I was huge with my thighs. Look at them now. My thighs were huge.
You were a big man.
Oh, I had 20-inch arms, brother. I was a monster, man. 50-inch chest, man. It's just unreal. But so if you want something, you sacrifice. You get it.
So that leads into the final question, because we could do this all day, right? But you know what?
We'll do this again.
We have to do it again.
I love you, brother.
But same here. Here.
Thanks for the coffee, man.
Nah, no worries.
Yeah, and the Dunkin' Donut, brother. French curlers, man. Get a French curler, brother. Put in there.
Jimmy was angry they didn't have his donut, the proper
I didn't
donut.
have my dad, man. I had to settle for a glaze, brother. No, French curler, brother. It looks like a tractor tire, you know, and you pull it apart, big holes in it. It's so light.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, brother, you got to try one, man. I'm hooked. I'm hooked, baby.
So if you're a wrestling fan,
Yes, sir.
You saw the 30 for 30 Ric Flair documentary, and you know, Ric Flair, iconic wrestling figure, just like yourself, right? And it's an honor for wrestling fans like myself and who's out there watching that you're still with us and able to tell these stories. But again, you're human. Ric Flair is human. We all know that. He lost his son to a drug overdose, and Rick has had a problem between, I guess, again, I'm just a fan, but watch these documentaries, being Ric Flair and Ric Flair, we've all heard the story. My question to you, Jimmy, even though you've had this iconic career, is there any regrets you have about this career?
No, not a one. And I'll tell you why, Ben. You know, I've been married. I love married life. I've been married since I was a teenager. I was married to First Lady 17 years, Second Lady, and she gave me 3 children, three daughters, lovely daughters. And my second marriage, 13 years, gave me a beautiful, handsome Jimmy. I named him Handsome Jimmy, man. His right on his birth certificate, his first name's Handsome Jimmy.
For real?
Yeah, for real.
That's awesome.
He was born in Memphis, Tennessee, while I was at the territory, and you know, and I said, Handsome, you may not like it when he got a little older, now, but you'll love that name someday, brother. And but I call him Hans. But anyway, 13 years, and then I met my third wife and brother, and this time I says, because both of these was my fault. I wrote my autobiography, 600 and over 600-page hardback, brother. It was called "Whoo, Messy Daddy, Welcome to My World," the Jimmy Valiant story, man. Yeah, it's out there, but it's second printing. All gone, and I'm not printing no more, and so they're out there somewhere. Now they're going for $500, man. I'll sell them for $35, man. Hey, weighs 3 pounds. I say, hey, buy 2 copies of them. We can work on with you. Do curls with them, baby. But anyway, what were we going over there, man?
Just if you had any regrets about your career.
Got you. Man, no, because I admit everything. You know, I admit everything that hey, this was my fault. Both marriages. This third marriage, my angel, I love her to death, man. And she is a real true angel. God sent her to me. And I believe in Jesus. Jesus is my Lord, and I'm saved, and I'm a complete changed man. And it's because of God, Jesus, and her. She's a real angel that he sent me. He died for the cross for all our sins, y'all. And he sent her, and she saved my life. And I'll tell you, we've been together 34 years. This coming 2 more weeks, 34 years. So you take 17 and 13. That's 30. And I've been with her 30. I've been married 34 years. 64 years, y'all. And all together, and you know, it's my life, man. I love it, and I ain't gonna mess up this time. And you know what? She didn't have to be so beautiful. All I said to myself, this lady that I'm going to marry next, I don't care what she looks like. She can be tall, you know, short, you know, stubby, homely, beautiful, whatever. But there is 2 things that she has to have. She has to be beautiful. I mean, beautiful inside. Inside. And she's got to be clean outside. Very important to me. That was the only 2 requirements. So I got that, plus she's a beautiful woman outside. And so, you know, I'm blessed. God bless me. And I have no regrets on anything because, and I say in my book, you know, just like I say in my book, I say I could tell dirt on every person that has wrestled in the last half a century, man. because I got it, man. I was with them. I was with them more than I was my family, man.
Sure.
On the road. So I don't care. Hey, Steamboat Wahoo, Piper, Andre, hey, you name it, Flair, Hogan. Hey, I was there when all of them started. I was before them, and I helped train them guys, and so I could tell you, and they could tell dirt on me, but in my book, and my hardback, whoo, Messy Daddy, the Boogie Woogie Man, story, welcome to my world. That I told dirty dirt, Mike, on myself,
right,
and for one reason, people, because. If I could help only one person, one poor soul, don't do this, don't do that, what I did, I'm telling them what I did. I did cocaine for 10 years, 7 days a week. I did I dipped Copenhagen 35 years, man, I'd smoke, I did all, I told everything about steroids. I told the steroids. I tell everything in there. Dirt on myself. Because I want to help people, if I can, and that's that reason. So I have no regrets, brother. And it's sure I love Jesus. In my heart, I have not one enemy in this world, because I forgive. I hold no grudges, and the people listen at me, man. This is what God wants, and this is what you have negativity. I don't put it in my body, man. I refuse it. Brother. And now I won't do business with them if it's something, but I wish them wealth, health. Man, do the best you can. If there's something that was happened between or whatever. Now, I love everybody. Now, there may be people that don't like me, but that's their problem, see? But going back real fast, Yeah, I want everybody to do well and that. But here's the whole thing. When I see them, hey, brother, man, hey, yeah, man, yeah, boom, boom, I go do my thing, because I don't want to actually do business with them. But I'm not Sean and I'm stepping back. I'm not, I'm cool. Hey, man, and I wish him good. I wish him well, baby.
Jimmy, we're gonna have to do this again.
Oh,
this
man,
is the
no,
great Jimmy Valiant. If you're a wrestling fan, cherish this man, cherish this interview. And Jimmy, thank you for taking the time with us today.
Woo, Mr. Boogie Woogie, man, feel good. I tell my people, all my brothers and sisters, don't you dare miss one more of this great show. Mr. Mike, I love you. God bless you, man. Thanks for my Dunkin' Donut. Hey, and my not having my favorite one. Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, baby. That French curler. God
All right,
bless
guys,
you.
We'll see you in about 10 minutes.
Woo, Messi.